Welcome to Inclusive Gathering Birmingham. My name is Danielle. If you haven't been with us before, we are an inclusive and affirming church that really is interested in being on the journey together of learning and growing and being people that can kind of be honest about what we don't know and can learn about justice and Jesus and what it means to kind of live in this world and this life with integrity and hope. So today I'm really excited that we're having a guest with us, Alastair McIntosh, who is a world-renowned author and speaker on the climate crisis and a pioneer in Scottish land reform, is being interviewed today by Joel about his new book, Riders on the Storm, The Climate Crisis and the Survival of Being. So don't worry if you haven't read this or aren't familiar with Alastair's work. Because this is going to be a great introduction to that. And actually today, like one of the areas of justice that lots of us care about in an increasing way is the climate. And so today, you'll notice that a lot of our readings and our stories are around the earth and the soil and appreciating what we have and fighting for something a bit better. So welcome. If you've not been with us before, this is a good time to check us out. So like I said, whether you're gay or straight, whatever your gender identity, whatever your race or ethnicity, whatever your theological background, whether you believe in God or you don't or you aren't sure, you're really welcome to be with us just as you are. We're going to hand over to the band.
There's a place for me. everyone, it's David here. As part of our regular gathering, we have a question for sharing. So for this question for sharing, I'll ask it in a minute, but feel free to put your responses onto Facebook Live. Also, if you've got people with you, feel free to talk it over with them. So the question for sharing today is, do you have a special place in nature that you like to go to, that sort of speaks to you or feeds your soul? So I'll let you ponder that for a second while I pan around. So for me, many of you probably seen things like my Facebook feed, or if you've been on a Zoom with me, especially over the summer, the chances are I'll be outside on a walk or something like that. I like running, cycling, and I love coming from the seaside as a child. I love going back to the seaside and seeing beaches and the sea and just the calmingness of that. And I think when I am outside, it's just amazing to actually just see the countryside, and there's something that's sort of calming and overall refreshing for me, not just physically for all the goodness that you get from being outside, but also something more on a sort of spiritual, something in here type basis, that just being out in nature is calming, and it just really helps, as the question said, sort of feed my soul. So for me, I love getting outdoors. Favourite place in the last few years, probably Polseth in Cornwall, where I've had some amazing events through people like Christian Surfers and the events that are run there, and the amazing blessing that is the tube station, which is a church but also an amazing cafe with, fresh, organic, locally produced food and stunning views, amazing seas, and it's just a fantastic place to be. So that's probably my answer at the moment. Apart from, I also love going on to Dartmoor. So you'll have seen I managed to do a wild camp this year that was within all the COVID guidelines. That was just absolutely amazing to be out in the wilds doing that. So those are my answers. As I say, feel free to put your answers in the Facebook Live, and enjoy the rest of the gathering.
Hi everybody, my name's Rosie and I'm here with a message for the little ones among us. I'm super excited to tell you that starting from next weekend, we're going to have a series of short videos and fun activities for children. We've got lots of super exciting things planned and opportunities to get messy, sticky and crafty, and hopefully we're going to learn some more things about Jesus along the way. So if you'd like to take part, please let us know by emailing Danielle at newchurchbirmingham@gmail.com, and then keep your eyes peeled for some exciting parcels that are going to be arriving on your doorstep very soon. We're going to be posting the videos on Facebook Live at 2 p.m. each Sunday, so you can join in at any point, and if you don't want to receive the post, you can just use things that you have around at home. I'm super excited and really looking forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, I'm Rachel Handley, and we're just going to do a prayer together. If you'd like to, you can join in with this. Lord of heaven and earth, you started us in a garden. You formed us from that good dirt. Every day you breathe life into our dusty bones and pour living water on our clay hearts. Let us start here. Let us begin together now with you, with this ground beneath our feet. Though it may be heavy laden with traces of lead paint and microplastics hardened with blood-red clay, sparkling with broken glass, tainted with arsenic from years of abuse, we trust that you have the power to redeem every inch of this earth. We are starting here with willing hands and hearts. Bring your healing to our soil. Let us get our hands dirty with the work you have given us. We remember the tears of ancestors, sisters and brothers pushed off of this land. We honour the bones of ancestors, sisters and brothers pushed to work this land. We lament the tyranny of ancestors, sisters and brothers pushed by greed to exploit this land. Lord, bring your healing to our soil. Get our hands dirty with the work that you have for us. Bless the sweat, bless the tears, bless the bones. May you bring life and redemption to the ground beneath our feet. Lord of resurrection, in your mercy, send earthworms, nematodes, rhizomes, and protozoa. Let them find a home in this soil. May it be crawling with life that our eyes may never see. Lord, bring life to the ground beneath our feet. Let the dirt beneath our nails remind us of your resurrection power. Amen.
Today we are joined by poet, activist, scholar, writer, Alastair McIntosh, and we're going to talk about his new book, Writers on the Storm. I fell in love with his work through two books, Soil and Soul, People versus Corporate Power, and Poacher's Pilgrimage, both poetic, strange, beautiful, inspiring. So when he wrote a new book, I thought, let's get him and see if we can chat with him. So welcome, Alastair.
Thank you so much.
I guess the first thing I wanted to ask was David Attenborough's rhetoric. He is one of the most famous environmentalists of our time. Is his rhetoric alarmist or not?
I think that Attenborough, and I should say we don't have television in this house, so I've not seen these programs, but I've read many descriptions and reviews of it. And I think that Attenborough's take, from what I understand of it, is alarming because it reflects the science, which is alarming. But when I use the term alarmist, in fact, when people involved in climate change generally use the term alarmist, they mean perspectives that go beyond the science, far beyond the science.
Your book has got a really interesting shape to it, because it's got a narrative of communities meeting and sharing on a deep level. But then you have like the first third of the book is heavy going. But what you're trying to do is you're saying this is ultimately almost like the bare minimum of what we need to talk about in terms of where we are right now in terms of climate science. A lot of science kind of does get overshadowed by culture war and corporate interests. So do you think it's possible for a new wave of engaging with the principles of science, and for ordinary people in the UK, for example, to just go, okay, science matters, we have some nuance? Or do you think it's the culture war has kind of taken over?
Well, I can only say I hope so. And you have to ask, what is your relationship to truth? And in that central part, in the middle part of the book, so in the first chapter is introductory. In the next 3 chapters, I outline the current state of the art, what I call consensus expert science of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And I'm doing that because we have to lay out what we understand about the reality. Now, in my view, mostly we only know what we think we know about climate science because of the climate science. So if we either deny the climate science and play down climate change, or if we exaggerate it to try and get more people out in the streets and worked up about it because we think that's the only way that will get people motivated, either way, we are departing from the science. And I believe that the principle here, tell the truth, as Extinction Rebellion puts it, or as Jesus had it, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And the really interesting thing about both, Gandhi was his use of satyagraha as truth force, the central dynamic of non-violence. And also the New Testament is that both satya and aletheia, the Greek word used in the New Testament for truth, both of them also mean reality. Both of them mean reality manifested. So it is truth to reality that sets us free. And that is why, I think we must firmly face the alarming realities of climate change. Yeah. But to either deny them and make out, it's not going to be too bad, we'll get around it and we don't need worry too much. Or on the other hand, to exaggerate it and say we're all going to die, whatever. Both of those things remove us from reality.
Inevitably, when people are confronted with the truth and the reality, they don't feel like they're going to get set free. They feel perhaps guilt or some sense of responsibility, wanting to figure out what can I practically do. So what do you say to someone who says, what's my next step?
Yeah, I say, if in doubt, what to do is your life. Feed the hungry. And in the book, I highlight the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals: affordable and clean energy, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And I just say to people, work on any one of these or any combination of these. And, people will look at number 8 and say decent work and economic growth. How can that be part of sustainable development? Well, there we need to distinguish between countries that are too rich and countries that are too poor. And if you're living in poverty, you need more economic growth. You need decent housing and food and so on. So I say to people, you know, feed the hungry, literally or metaphorically. Go down and volunteer in your local nature reserve and engage in ecological regeneration. Go and help out at the food bank. Any of these things is part of making us whole people in a whole world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You talk about 4 C's in your book.
Yeah.
And can you just run quickly through those?
Yeah. First of all, when I talk about the 4 C's in Riders of the Storm, I have a caveat. I say whenever somebody packages something up into an acronym or the 4 this or something like that, always have your bullshit detectors turned on. You see? And notice what I'm doing there. I'm pushing people, think for yourself. All I'm doing is throwing out some suggestions that I've neatly packaged, but don't think that's the whole picture. It's only an aid along the way. And if you stick too closely to the method, it so easily becomes a trap. But let me go into them. They're clearance, collapse, consumption, and community. And so I come as somebody whose main reputation is for land reform, for being one of the leaders of the land reform movement in Scotland, which reconnects people into communities of place. And we've now got 3% of Scotland's land with some 500 community land trusts established in Scotland. That's where I'm coming at this from. And the work I did in the 1990s, especially on bringing the Isle of Egg into community ownership. And the reason I'm doing that, Joel, is that when people are able to own their place collectively, when a community rather than a landlord or corporation or whatever owns the place where you live, the community can make decisions, including renewable energy, affordable social housing, setting up local enterprises, and the whole empowerment that comes from people, grassroots, democratically being able to run their own place. So that's where I'm coming from. And I look at it historically. You know, in England, you had the enclosures. In Scotland, we had the clearances, the highland clearances, but also the lowland clearances and so on. In Ireland, you had the whole colonization and the famine. You had similar things across many other parts of the world. And what we see there is people being ripped up by their roots, removed from their the embeddedness, as a sociologist Anthony Giddens would call it, the embeddedness of their connection of place. And as Giddens points out, when that happens, you shift over to money being the measure of meaning. Right, you shift over to commoditization. I think that's a very important insight. Okay, so you've got that primal collapse, which then comes into generationally embedded. You know, I'm speaking to you from Govan in Glasgow, where I live. We're surrounded by poverty in many people's circumstances, and that's intergenerational. You know, many of these people were embedded in the land a few generations ago, but they've come in the city, and then the tide of the Industrial Revolution's gone out and left many of them high and dry. So the clearance leads to inner collapse, because psychologically, you see it on Native American reservations very clearly. When people are disconnected from connection with place and one another, psychologically an inner collapse comes about, and they become vulnerable to the 3rd C of consumption, whether it's alcohol and drugs or whether it's more subtle forms of mainstream materialistic consumption. In my experience and work, the antidote is community. We have to rekindle community. Community with one another, with society, community with the divine, with the spiritual, with soul, community with the earth, with soil. Soil, soul, and society, as Satish Kumar has neatly encapsulated it. We have to rebuild community. So, you know, my most fundamental answer in Riders on the Storm as to what can we do about climate change, what, you know, especially if we are ordinary people with no extraordinary power. As the poet Adrienne Rich puts it, what can we do? She says, we can reconstitute the world. My heart is moved by all I cannot change. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Adrienne Rich.
The book is personal. Your deep affection for the Outer Hebrides, and your connection to it comes through. And it seems that when communities meet, there's something. If you spend enough time, you'll find these deep moments of connection.
In the book, I bookend it. I start and I finish in the final 2 chapters with a group of community leaders from West Papua province in, of all places, the Indonesian side of New Guinea. Now, I spent 4 years working in neighboring Papua New Guinea, and those Melanesian Pacific peoples taught me so much of what I know about land reform, about land and community. And so, we had those people come to Scotland last year, these grassroots community leaders, and we took them around community land trusts. And at the end of it, their bottom line is, what we are seeing here is that these people are able to make community because they have love, and they have love because they know God. So you've got that integration of soil, soul, society. The foundation of community, it is our membership. St. Paul on one of his good days spoke about being members one of another. We're profoundly interconnected. We're not just the egos all bashing at each other and knocking each other out until there's only 2 left, and in the end there's only number 1 left. We're actually profoundly interconnected. But the problem, Joel, and what is so often missed in spiritual work is that in order to get from this individuality of, if you like, our atomized separate fingernails, down to the participation or partaking of the divine nature, or as Hinduism would have it, Atman, the individual soul, ultimately is Brahman, is one with the universal soul, or we are all Buddha nature, or we are all branches of the goddess, however you want to express it. In order to get from here to here, we have to go through here. We have to do our work with the shadow. The shadow was Carl Jung's term for the sides of ourselves we are in denial of, that we have repressed, or which have never had opportunity to grow into being. And so spiritual work is not just about the bells and smells and feeling good. Spiritual work is about working with one another, individually and collectively, to come to terms with what blocks us from realizing our full potential. And when the UN talks about sustainable development, I unpack in Riders on the Storm, I unpack in here that word development, which is de-envelopper, to unfold the envelope, to unfold what is wrapped up, and to self-realize and collectively do that also, what it means to be a human being on this planet in these times. And so to me, Joel, I don't despair about climate change. Rather, I see climate change as a call to deepen our human beingness.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for writing this book and for introducing us to it. It is complex. It is poetic. It's a beautiful read, and it's very, very timely. So really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you.
Put your hands in the soil, feel the groan and feel the joy, or sit with the hurt, stare into the dirt, occupy the bandstands, gather lost citizens, climb down your pyramids, relinquish your privilege, welcome strangers to your table as though they were angels, make space for the spent, feel the lament, break your vows to the powers, plant trees and grow flowers, share the resources, free all the horses. All citizens, put your hands in the soil and feel the groan. Can you feel the joy? And be still and be be still. Down by the riverside, who's not afraid to die? Emerged from the waves, broke loose from the powers of the age. Live now as citizens of what's left of the age to come. Behold the Messiah dying for the lands we're crucifying. Break bread and take drink, all feel and think. Shed tears every day for everything we throw away. Mourn for your families, mourn for your enemies. Sing to the stars, console our grieving hearts. All citizens, put your hands in the soil and feel the groan. Can you feel the joy? And be still, and be still. Clap your hands to your mouth, let your pride go south. Put your hand on your head, make terms with the dead. Put your hands on your face, too late to learn from our mistakes. Put your hand on your heart, can we stop what we start? Sisters to the leverage, brothers to the edges, youth to the fore. This bleak future is yours. All ye of noble birth, join the scum of the earth. Gather round the powerless, there's the power that can save us. All citizens, put your hands in the soil and feel the groan. Can you feel the joy? And be still, 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 and be still.
Hey, I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Naomi.
Each week, when we meet together online, we share something that we call a love feast. It's a way of expressing the sharing and friendship and belonging that we have together as followers of Jesus. It's also a way for us to share some of the sense of hospitality and welcome that sharing food together represents for us as a community when we meet together in person. There is nothing particularly special about the kind of food we share together, so grab whatever you like or have nearby.
We've got popcorn and squash. So grab your food and then let's join together for a short prayer. Meals in the life and stories of Jesus reveal an active God, a God in relationship. As we eat this food, we remember that it is the product of the natural elements and human action. May we be reminded that we are made for collaboration with, not domination over, nature. May we be mindful of the scandal of hunger, people going without to feed greedy systems. May we recommit ourselves to fighting injustice and enabling fullness of life. Just as our bodies and minds need a Sabbath, so does the earth. May we rest in creation as we remember that creation rests within us. May we experience God in and through the world and all that dwell on it. Amen.
Amen.
So let's eat together and enjoy what the earth has provided for us.
Guard us, guide us, keep us, feed us, for we have no help but thee. Yet possessing every blessing, if our God our Father be. Savior, breathe forgiveness o'er us, all our weakness thou dost know. Thou didst tread this earth before us, thou didst feel its keenest woe. Lone and dreary, faint and weary, through the desert thou didst go. Spirit of a God descending, fill our hearts with heavenly joy. Love with every passion blending, pleasure that can never cloy. Thus provided, pardon guiding, nothing can our peace destroy.
Thanks for being with us today, and a huge thank you to Alastair McIntosh. And really excited that Alastair will be joining us for a Q&A on Zoom at 5:15. If you'd like to join us, you're very welcome. You'll need to be logged into a Zoom account in order to be able to access it for security reason. And we'd like you to put your name and any pronouns that you'd like to be referred to in the naming section of Zoom. We are going to record the session, so if you can't make it, you can watch it later. And if you'd like to join in but aren't keen on having your face in the video, all you need to do is just switch your camera off and you won't be included on there. We've got some things coming up. If you follow us on social media, you'll see there's a whole bunch of events that have popped up recently between now and the new year. We're starting a special Advent project in the next week or so, where we're posting out some fun stuff for Advent, including like a make your own Advent wreath with candles. So if you'd like to receive that in the post, I'm posting a link below and you can sign up to receive that. If you're in our Connect and community group, you can also sign up just to receive some other special things in the post. We're starting a little scheme where there's going to be a team that sends some things around and check in with people on the phone. So if you'd like to be part of that, you're very, very welcome to join our Connect and community group on Facebook, and you can find the links there. So with all that said, we're going to close with the blessing that we share every week. May we live fully, may we love wastefully, and may we have the courage to be all that God has created us to be. We'll see you at 5:15 on Zoom.